Hey Wade, you thought I was gonna do a Breath of Fire 4 video, right? Never you worry, I'm following the same thing I did with Breath of Fire 3. Complete the series playthrough first and release the video at the end.
Yeah, that didn't end up happening. More I played the game, the more I was just like, God, I'm not feeling this one. So let's just get into it. Let's just get into it.
Alright, where do I start? Well, let me not kid myself or my audience. This video isn't going to be so much a review of Breath of Fire 4 so much as it's going to be what Breath of Fire 4 changed from 3 and why it's worse off because of it. And before we get too far into this, allow me to stress it's all my opinion. If you think this game is the bee's knees, I'm happy for you.
Get it? Bee's knees? Because I'm a bee? I pointed to my knees when I said that? Look at me, guys.
Kill this dork.
Alright, well, what does it do better than 3? Let's start there, because it's not much. Battle system hands down. Not even close. You have a front row and a back row. Back row sits there and recovers AP and will use a special ability every now and then depending on who's back there. Pretty cool. Best part, though, is you have your whole team there at any given time. You can switch them out at will and bring the best characters for the job, and should you need to, sacrifice one character and use them as a meat shield while you heal another. The second thing the battle system does better is the combo system. You can chain together different spells for varying effects. Pretty much this is how you're more or less supposed to play Breath of Fire 4. Unlike 3, 4 doesn't necessarily have a dedicated mage and dedicated physical attacker. Everyone can do it all, though there are obvious tiers on who is good at what. And due to this, it took 4 games and over a decade, but Nina is finally a useful character from start to finish.
The first runner-up is... Bridget Oy, Connecticut, which means Nia Franklin. New York, you are Miss America 2019.
Another thing 4 does better is the Master System. First, it gives everyone a passive boost. Okay, so in 3, take Yggdrasil for example. It would passively debuff Fire Resist. Or Delonzo would passively buff your accuracy. Well, now they all give you a passive, and they all have stat buffs and nerfs more clearly stated. It's a minor thing, but an upgrade is an upgrade. The Masters also have a greater variety in how you gain their skills, such as performing certain actions or obtaining an item. Theoretically, you can gain more than a few of the Masters' abilities as soon as you meet them if you're good enough. And the final thing the game does better is the plot, and to be clear, it's only Faolu's plot. Ryu and company's story is just looking for a missing princess until it hits the fan, then they go and fight the big boss. Who cares? Faolu's deal is he's the first emperor who established the Empire. He went to sleep for a few years, and upon waking the deal was he gets his empire back. Well, the current emperor doesn't want to give up any power. See, Faolu was apathetic towards mortals originally. He didn't hate them, love them, or anything. They were just these things, and he didn't concern himself with them. But just about every one of these mortals who helps him gets screwed over by the current emperor in some way. You can see Faolu's transition from a single-minded god who wants his toys back to a vengeful god of destruction who has decided his empire no longer has the right to live. Faolu's plot, in my humble opinion, is the best plot the Breath of Fire series has ever put out, and Faolu is the best character the Breath of Fire series has ever put out.
You love me. You really love me.
And far as I'm concerned, that's all 4 does better than 3. Before I go into what I think is really bad about the game, I want to talk about the tone of the game. It's a much more chill, serene tone. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but when I'm looking to have a good time and enjoy myself, I like my music to be a little more upbeat for a several-hour investment. Let's just compare the overworld music. Could just be me, but one has me more amped up to play. The artwork also follows this chillness. Darker colors are used in comparison to 3, and to be clear, I guess I should say darker shades. Take Nina's in-game sprites, for example. 3 Nina, even though she's going for reds to whites, always pops up at you and catches your eye. 4 Nina, on the other hand, is using a very dull shade of pink for the wings, a cooler blue for her shirt, a more drab blonde, and dark brown pants. Which one is going to grab and keep your attention? And this palette choice extends throughout the game. It's also less animated. In 3, you'd have your characters doing business in the background, like Nina and Ryu playing as kids, or Honey getting into trouble. 4, generally speaking, doesn't do that. They have portraits during speech instead, and it's these portraits that display 99% of the character's expression. When they do have sprite movement, it's usually very shallow and quick instead of exaggerated like the before-mentioned examples from 3. Another problem I have with the game is the cluttered town maps. It's ridiculous at some points. Like, even spinning the compass around 360 degrees, there's little spots you still can't see because there's so much junk in the way. Again, compare it to the town setup in 3. Wide open areas. Sure, they'd hide little things in nooks and crannies, but it was never to the absurdity 4 can reach. Numerous times I couldn't even tell where I was in a couple cities. Alright, and finally, as far as I'm concerned, the real nail in the coffin, the aspect of the game that absolutely parks it in objective inferiority to its younger brother is how it handles dragon forms. So 3 gave you 18 dragon genes that could be combined a large number of different ways for different effects. Granted, about 85% of the combinations were useless, but the option for experimentation was still there. 4 gives you 6 different forms. 6 different dragon forms, and 7 different dragon summons to replace the breath attacks as your damage based on HP move. And if you summon a dragon, you have to go to an inn before you can use it again. Now you may think, hey, sure, you only get 6 forms, but there were only like 5 meta combinations from 3, so it's way better in a way. And I'd agree with that straw man if 3 of Ryu's dragon forms in this game weren't all fire elemental. So in a sense, you only have 4 different kinds. That coupled with their awful design forever makes them worse in comparison. Now, I'm not saying Breath of Fire 4 is a bad game by any stretch of the imagination. I'm saying it's an inferior game. Like, if I never played 3 at all, ever, I would probably look at Breath of Fire 4 as fondly as I do 3. So, I just kind of want to make that clear. I guess, just on a personal note, I guess I just kind of grew out of it. You know, everything I like more nowadays, it's a lot more lively, it's got a lot more energy to it, and Breath of Fire 4 doesn't have that as much as Breath of Fire 3 does. Yeah, it's got a couple little moments here and there, but it doesn't pop out at me like 3 does. Anyway, as I've always said in the video, if you like Breath of Fire 4, I'm happy for you. You have a great day. I'm out.